This is Super Yacht News with E. Sisman. Hi, welcome back to the channel. Okay, it's time for Super Yacht News. We've got quite a bit going on today, but what I want to do is we're going to be talking about Scheherazade and the arrest of that vessel when she was trying to leave in Marina di Carrara in Italy. She was trying to leave after a refit. But before I go into that, I want to talk a little bit about Flying Fox. You'll probably remember from my previous videos that Flying Fox is a 136 meter giant made by Lurssen, built by Lurssen. She was in Dominican Republic. Went into Dominican Republic to refuel, I believe, after I believe what was a charter in the Caribbean, and the vessel was arrested there, and it was there for a month while they did investigations. It was boarded by US ICE investigators, etc. Apparently that month stay in the Dominican Republic cost the vessel $1 million, approximately $1 million in fees and fuel and what have you, berthing fees and stuff. Anyway, she left Dominican Republic after that time in kind of a mysterious way. She just left quietly early one morning, and the only thing that the government said about the vessel leaving was that she'd left. They never gave any statement at the time, and the vessel just left. Now, after the vessel left, it circled around the island and headed east towards across the Atlantic. And initially, they didn't have any destination in AIS. It just said TBC, to be confirmed. And then after they'd been going for a while, they changed the destination in AIS changed to Palma de Mallorca, which I thought was very curious. The vessel was going to head to Spain and to the same place where Tango was actually seized by the US government. So I thought that's very, very unlikely that it's going to head there after everything that just happened in Dominican Republic. Now, remember, the owner of this vessel is not currently on the sanctions list. So that's important to remember. But obviously that is not necessarily a reason at the moment for a vessel to be arrested. Just the fact that it's a Russian billionaire owning it can lead to vessels being arrested right now, being detained. So she crossed the Atlantic. I tracked her going across the Atlantic. She made some curious changes of course changes, probably related to weather. As she headed to the Straits of Gibraltar, as she got close to the Straits of Gibraltar, her AIS destination changed back to TBC, and so she went through the Straits of Gibraltar and she sailed right. She didn't go to Mallorca, which I didn't think she would, and she's headed east. Now, at the beginning of this trip, while she was on the early stages of Atlantic crossing, I said I was gonna say that she was heading to Turkey, and I still believe that is the case. Turkey seems to be a safe haven right now for Russian billionaire yacht owners. There are quite a lot of them there right now. And I also think that it's possible that she might refuel in Tunisia, because Ragnar did that, and she probably, the owner of the captain of Flying Fox probably observed that and is probably aiming to do the same thing, because it's been proven that they can do it and not have any issues. We'll see in a couple of days where she's going, but I think it's a sure thing that she's headed to Turkey for a final destination. All right, guys, onto the main story now, and this is about the yacht Scheherazade. Now, I've covered this vessel quite a number of times. I made a video a few months ago called "Is This Putin's Super Yacht?" I'll put links in all normal places so you can go and see that. And I talk extensively about the secrecy that goes on around that vessel. Now, that vessel, when it was being built, was called Project Lightning. Now, if you remember the video I just did, the last video I did was about Motor Yacht Crescent, and that is also tied to Vladimir Putin via Igor Sechin, who is the beneficial owner. And these are generally accepted to be proxy owners for Putin himself. Now, this vessel, Scheherazade, the ultimate beneficial owner is a chap called Eduard Kudenatov. That is a name I struggle to pronounce for some reason, but he's down on paper as the owner of this vessel, as far as I can tell. But if you've been following the Amadeus story that I've been covering on this channel, you'll know that his name popped up with Amadeus as well. So they tried to say that the US government, who believe that Suleiman Kerimov owns that vessel, the defense for Amadeus was saying that, oh no, it's owned by Eduard Kudenletov, which is the same chap who owns this vessel. If you want to watch that video, I'll post a link, because I said in that video that it's unlikely he owns both vessels because he doesn't seem to be wealthy enough to do so. And he's most likely proxy owner. Anyway, the story was about Scheherazade was in refit in Marina di Carrara, and so she was out of the water. She's in a dry dock facility, and she had the corrugated plastic all over the vessel, which is common practice. It's installed by the shipyard personnel when a vessel is going into refit. It's just protection for the bulkheads and the deckheads, etc., so nothing is damaged while that work goes on. The vessel was observed. All of this plastic was coming out. The refit had finished. The vessel, the dry dock was then filled, so the vessel was floating again, and it was seen. The vessel was seen refueling, and they believed that the vessel was going to sail any day. And what I would say about that is the press made a big thing about that. But what I would say is that even if a vessel wasn't due to leave the shipyard where it was, once that vessel is finished in the dry dock facility, they would do that anyway. They would move the vessel out because they want to use that dry dock for another vessel. So the fact that they filled it with water and that, it wasn't necessarily a sign that the vessel was leaving, although it could have been. So this vessel is actually bigger than Crescent. If you watched my last video on Crescent, you saw what a monster that was in Tarragona in Spain. And you could see there were other big yachts in that marina, and it dwarfed those yachts. So the vessel's estimated to have cost $700 million to build. So before the yacht could sail, the freezing decree was signed by the economy minister Daniel Franco, and the seizure, they're using the word seizure, but we know it's an arrest. The seizure took place on the evening of Friday the 6th of May, and the measure had been in the air for some time. So they're saying it's not because the vessel was, the dry dock was being filled and they were fueling the vessel. That was not the reason why it came out now. They've been working on it for a while. And the vessel has been arrested by the Guardia di Finanza, which is the financial police in Italy. And they're usually the ones that do arrests of vessels. Like, usually an arrest is for non-payment of a bill or something like that, but they have broad arrest powers. Okay, one last story. 45-meter yacht almost sank off the coast of Washington, Grays Harbor, Washington, after the transom door failed on the vessel and the vessel started to take on water, and the beach club was almost completely, well, it was completely flooded. There's some dramatic footage here taken by the Coast Guard, the US Coast Guard, who went to assist the vessel. And you can see in the video footage here that the vessel is rolling quite heavily in quite rough seas, and also at one point there's a shot of the Coast Guard vessels, and you can see it rolling a lot. You can see that they've got a line around the transom door, and they're trying to pull that transom door closed, and you can see that they're trying to use the capstans to pull that line to close that door, but they was unsuccessful in doing so by the looks of it. The vessel was actually towed for 12 hours by the Coast Guard, and then it was taken over by a private towing firm to tow it to safety. The vessel didn't sink, amazingly. You also, in that video footage, you can see there are 2 lifeboats in the water, 2 inflatable life rafts, should I say, and the crew looked like the crew were ready to abandon ship, and they would probably they put them in the water just in case the vessel did start to go down. But quite dramatic footage. But luckily, there were no injuries. Everybody got off. I think there were 7 crew on board, and everybody got off, so that's great news. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. If you've got any information about any of the stories we talked about tonight, please get in touch. If you are a crew member that was on Domini, I think the vessel's called Domini or Domini, Motor Yacht Domini, the one that almost sank. If you're a crew member, please get in touch. I would love to talk to somebody about it, about your experiences. But yeah, that was quite a dramatic thing. But anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell so you get notifications for all future videos. Okay, see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.